This area of the garden was always like this beautiful little retreat for me, and just with my shade loving plants that were here. However, y'all, last last fall we had to cut down a huge tree that was on the deck. So what happened? Instead of there just be a little dappling of sunlight in here, the sun came with a force, and I knew we had to do something different, and the garden was going to have to adjust to the change. So even with the help of my neighbor Mary, we stretched the shade cloth across the bed so that it would give it the protection that it needed from the sun. And you know what that made me think of is that even gardens need a little bit of extra help when their world changes. You know, the leaves are falling, and even the mulch, there's been squirrels and whatnot up in the flower bed. And so it's not looking tidy like I usually like it to look. However, that's just not always normal for a garden. So now that fall is here, the garden is looking a little tired. And honestly, that's exactly how I want it to look. Even though I enjoy that more pristine look with the, like in the beginning of the season where everything is coming up fresh and the mulch is fresh. However, it's what's going on right now that is the important part. Just looking at it, you're thinking, well, you can see that the hosta leaves are browning and the flowers have died on the end of the hostas. And it's just really looking messy. And that clump of grass right there that popped up over the season that I just never got up there to take care of. And the ferns are still here. And again, it is just getting time for it to go to sleep for the winter. So the cool thing is that everything underneath the soil is still active. And once I figured that out, I thought, because what was my first instinct? It was, oh, let's go ahead and cut all this back and clean it up. And so it doesn't look so messy, right? And just the dying of the hostas and the brown and whatnot. And then I realized what's going on in the soil. And the roots, what are they doing? They're starting to store nutrients, and the soil is alive with microbes. Those fallen leaves in there, they're food, and they're going to be protection because I'm going to be taking the shade cloth down so more leaves will get in there. So, what would happen if I rushed to clean it all up? I'd be stealing what nature's already doing quietly. And I kind of enjoyed thinking about it that way, what nature is already doing quietly, because that is just what this beautiful shade area is. It's a calm and a quiet and beauty. There's beauty in there with the different greens, with the hostas and the ferns. There's not. I don't have flowers in there. The flowers came on the hostas. However, again, knowing that what's taking place right now is a beautiful way of nature saying, or of God saying, I got this. Let me do this. Do you ever feel that way sometimes in your life when you just feel like you need that calm, that rest, and things that might not be looking exactly as you want it to look. And if you'll just stop instead of trying to fix it yourself and just remember that God's got this. Let Him take over. I'm really bad to lay things at the altar and say, okay, God, let me give you my worries. And then I turn around and I pick them back up and say, oh, but I bet I could help you. So this is your opportunity to just let nature do its work and also let God do His work in your life. Now, when our first frost hit, y'all, what's going to happen are these leaves are just going to um, get softer and kind of golden and kind of mushy in a way. And then I'm going to be cutting them back to the ground right down here and keeping the mulch near the crown of the hostas. And even these, just look how big and beautiful this one is, so that that mulch is going to give it that added protection over winter, because they have been here for several winters. So I know they're going to still be protected with the additional leaves that fall and with the additional mulch that's around them. And then I don't have to worry about them, even in the severe cold temps that we could get, that that's going to do any damage to them. And that makes me feel a lot better, because I would hate to lose any of them. So for right now, what's next? And this is also for you in your garden, is to look at different areas of your garden and decide what's next for that spot. What do I need to be doing now? And the next thing I'll be doing is I'm going to be taking down the shade cloth. It's just up by these hooks. And so I'll very easily be able to take that down. Now that that tree's not there, this Laura pedalum that gets those, it's also called like a fringe flower. Um, it's getting bigger, and I'm not going to trim it back. So I'm hoping that it continues to get bigger so that the afternoon sun will, that the plants will be protected from that, because that's exactly where it shines in from in the afternoon, is that direction. I also like, y'all, and I said this in my garden tour, is that I love how nature can teach us lessons, and gardening's always teaching us flexibility, because sometimes the environment doesn't stay the same way. And so you have to adjust and pivot and figure out what you need to do to help your plants. And that's also with your life. What do you need to do to maybe change a situation or improve a situation? And so I love coming out here in the morning. It's again part of my morning rhythm, when I have either my coffee or my lemon water, and I'm going around and checking my plants, and just also looking at the moonflower in full bloom. And it just reminds me that every season is not meant to be blooming, because right now this isn't blooming, it's getting time for resting. And when I think about that, so I think some are meant for rebuilding. And when we allow rest, when you allow rest for the soil, for your mind, you're going to make room for renewal. And it's just a beautiful way of embracing your garden, embracing the nature that God has given you. So that's what I love to think about right now, is even though this isn't looking the absolute best, I love my garden. So this fall, I'm letting my shade garden rest. There's no rushing, there's no perfection, just quiet trust. I'm not going to try to make this become something that it's not ready for just yet. And I love thinking about it like that, just like the rest of the area with my lantana. And you can see the leaves that have fallen. It's just becoming that time of year. And if your garden or your life feels still right now, it's just preparing for new growth. That's the way I like to think about it. And rest is part of growth. And sometimes in our busy world, we think we've got to rush and do this and we've got to rush and do that. And there's really, with gardening, there's no rushing. And so when you can watch your plants and you can see that they take their time, they're growing, they're developing, the fruit is coming, the blooms are starting, and then after that, then it's time for a pause. And man, I think there's time in life when a pause is so important. This is a little bit of a different video today, I know, because I feel like I've been a lot more philosophical about things. However, it's all things that I think will help you on your journey with your garden, with your plants, with your to dos in your life that don't always need to be rushed to get done. The to dos to get done. I'm just glad that you came along with me for me to show you my shade garden and what's next for it because I love that area. It is so peaceful and it is very cool, especially early in the morning before the sun gets too hot. And again, adding that shade cloth gave it the protection that it needed for that season of time. And again, trees change, leaves change, situations change. So just be aware of what's changing in your garden and what you might need to do differently. Thank you for being here with me in Garden Grace. Always remember to grow with grace, and I'll see you right back here in Garden Grace. Okay, y'all. Bye.